Even
So,
though you did my cultural
Brattleboro
work.
Planning Commission,
Are you ready, Austin?
Right.
meeting of Monday, September 9th is called to order at 6:03 PM. Are there announcements?
I have an announcement. We have hired a recent college graduate who will become the planning tech. He is scheduled to start on October 1st. Super excited about him. He's gonna kind of be floating in the planning and zoning world. He's really likes long-term planning. He'll be moving to Brattleboro for the position, so it will help bring some capacity to getting some of the stuff that I've been a little bit behind on getting done for the planning commission as well. So I'm sure you will be meeting, his name is Andrew, I'm sure you'll meet him in the beginning of October.
Great.
Yeah.
What sort of-
Congratulations.
With, not that I'm checking his credentials or anything, but I'm just curious, with a bachelor's degree in what?
Urban planning and sustainability
Oh,
from Western Washington University.
Washington State?
Yes.
He's moving here from Washington.
Connecticut.
Okay.
Just
Current-
family,
gotcha,
yeah.
yep.
Great.
Any other announcements?
Have you or we decided on that state municipal planning grant?
No.
Okay.
We could talk about that if you want. I mean,
I don't have anything to add. I thought the ideas were good. that
Yeah,
people
it's
proposed, and yours.
kind of one of those capacity things
Right.
at this point. I think we'll probably be in a stronger position to apply next year, not having
Mhm.
one.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, but it's something we can talk about some more. We would have to, if we want to apply for something, we would need to get it before the select board at their next meeting, which is probably still time, because the town's grant process requires that.
Mhm.
They sign off on grant applications.
Maybe Andrew could have the formidable challenge.
How's it
for his
going?
First week.
No, it's
What's
to the end of
deadline?
September.
The date's
I
the
know,
end of
and
September,
obviously
so
it
it's-
comes in October or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I don't-
Kathy,
Well, that's,
we're at the
you know more about
announcements.
that world than I do, that's for sure.
Well,
So
I
that
guess
sounds like reasonable
So here's a couple of
strategy.
other things that are on tap for into the new year, at least for the department and as involved as the planning commission wants to be. We recently were awarded a scoping grant to look at a bike lane from exit 2, basically down to Main Street, with the priority being exit 2 to kind of the Green Street intersection. So that's a pretty heavily intensive public outreach. We'll hire engineers, they'll kind of come up with three alternatives, and they have to look at right away, they have to look at historic resources, there's a whole bunch of things they need to assess. But there'll also be public meetings with that. So that's one of the projects that'll have to be done probably by next summer as well. And then I'm pretty excited about this one, although I don't know if I haven't heard anything yet. There's this nonprofit EcoAdapt that was soliciting communities to do some climate adaptation workshops and to come up with plans. And so it's a partnership that EcoAdapt has with Virginia Tech from funding from the National Science Foundation to basically study what makes a community successful in implementing the mitigation strategies and whatnot. So I'm hopeful. A woman from Western Mass who works for them had reached out encouraging the town to apply, so we did do that. And then we also have the planning department needs to update the hazard mitigation plan. We'll start that in 2020 as well. So.
That's weather hazards.
Yeah.
When do we hear about the ADAPT grant?
I'm not exactly sure when we'll hear about that.
And do we have money for the hazard mitigation plan, or is that just something we do?
It comes out of our budget for the most part. That will, if we get the EcoAdapt, the climate mitigation workshop, that would go towards, we put that towards the stormwater, for the hazard mitigation plan as well.
Okay. And I see that we don't have the sustainability coordinator on our agenda. Can you update us on where that is and
Yeah.
how that's going?
So we are probably just a couple of days away from putting the announcement out there with the job description. Bless you.
Cool. Exciting. For me personally.
Who's writing the job description?
Is it the same one?
Staff.
that was-
It's changed a little bit,
Mhm.
but that's the gist.
When does that person targeted to actually join?
It will depend. I mean, so say it gets out this week and, by the end of the month, we start reviewing candidates and then interviews and I hope by the end of the year, but I think it'll depend on the candidate and the number of interviewees and the number of rounds.
And can we ask, how much of the 100,000 is going towards that?
It's 55 to 58,000, I think
Is this
the
average?
range.
And then and then benefits and all that stuff, does that actually take the 100 or is there
I
left
do
over?
not know.
Their bike, buy their bike.
Yeah, give them a lift, exactly, yeah, right, that could go up to the.
I wanted a Hilltop assist bike for the office, I think that'd be useful.
I understand, you can only do so much at a time, but the bike lane from exit 2 to Main reminds me, or makes me think of biking up to Putney Road. And
Yes.
that's a hairy little spot there until you
Yeah.
get to the bike lane that's already there.
Yeah.
Has anyone, has there been look into that?
Yes.
I realize that's a state road too, but
It is a
isn't,
state road that's.
is Western Ave, it's Route 9, but isn't that not a state road there?
So Western Avenue is a state road that parts of it are maintained by the town, so we have greater,
Control.
I'm not exactly sure where the lines are on Western Avenue.
Oh.
So we have a little bit more control. We'll need to work with V-Trans to, get their approval for a bike lane, but the, basically from Vermont Avenue on Putney Road, so if you're coming into Brattleboro, into downtown, so if you cross the bridge and then you start heading up the hill, kind of at the crest of the hill,
Oh,
from there all the way north, that is maintained by V-Trans, by the state, and they are responsible for maintenance, construction, all of that stuff. So there is a large plan, a Putney Road plan, that they are working towards. They've had conversations with property owners about land that they're gonna need, the preliminary. They are getting close to some preliminary plans for that. It's probably the earliest we'd see any construction on it is 2024 or 2025. It's a huge project with 4 roundabouts.
I know.
But it is moving forward.
And
And I
that-
know
and
it
that-
feels
yeah.
like it's really slow,
Right.
and that would have, actually a multi-use path,
Mhm.
that would be wider than the 5-foot bike lane that is separated by a green strip.
And would there
Wow,
be something
that would
on
be
this side
amazing.
of the West River? Like some for
No, that
access?
project area does not, it goes to the bridge, it basically starts
Oh.
in the, kind of the,
Yeah.
where that fitness shop
Yeah.
is, and the,
Huh,
so it won't come all the way,
Yeah, it's kind of a little hairy spot.
yeah.
It's like-
definitely.
Cause the street lights are into the 1
Yeah,
foot
yeah.
shoulder and the sidewalk's bumpy.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
Okay.
all right, any more announcements? Okey-doke, public comments, hearing none, we'll move on. Approval of the minutes of August 5th and August 14th that were circulated. I guess, can we move them as a slate and then edit?
Sure.
I was only here for one of the meetings, so I'll
So does
just-
somebody wanna
So-
move to approve the
Yeah,
minutes?
I'll move to
I see a
approve
typo.
the minutes of August 5th and August 14th.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. Discussion. I had one general comment that you and I have spoken about, Sue, but that there be a standardization of, we cut the miss and the miss.
Oh, where did I
Mr.
forget
and
that?
use.
Which ones did I do that?
I think it was August, I think it was the July, cause there's, I'm
July?
Efrate, but other people are Ms. Odlin.
Sorry.
Yeah, she put the July.
And Kathy and I
minutes in
are
there.
both, but there's Mr. Heller.
I think I'd mentioned the reason that sometimes happen is, so when I do Conservation Commission, it's always been the first initial and the last name, but Planning Commission, I don't know, it was always different, and so I would sometimes find myself going back and forth. You're looking at July, though?
I'm both July and August.
That
So
was in
here's,
the
now
email.
now I'm looking at August and there's Mr. Jones.
Which one?
It's pretty regular. I mean, they're mostly the initial, but then every once in a while, so August 14th, there's Mr. Jones shared some additional information
Oh,
about
yeah,
cost of
okay.
laser type proposal.
Fixing your
Okay.
formatting.
What's that?
There was some formatting weirdness in the Word doc, so I fixed it.
That was my only comment.
14th.
Okay.
Other changes? Somebody else?
There's an E on the end of my last name, but I don't care if people do that all the time.
Oh, no, I fixed that.
Okay.
That's how people know you're not.
You're right
Val.
on the August 5th. Did it right.
Oh, yeah. No, you always do it right, except for that one time I just now noticed. I honestly don't care.
I put that extra E on August 5th under excused.
Okay.
Okay, are we good to go? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Are you a member now?
Am I a member now?
You are.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
yes.
That happened. I just wanted to confirm.
I mean, are you a member again?
All right, minutes
Yes.
are approved as amended. All righty. Do. Brattleboro Brownfields program, overuse.
So I
Should
put
be
a
the theme
new,
song.
a new file on that, which I apologize, it wasn't up earlier. So basically, we have no funds left for the hazardous site assessments. I did request an extension because we have a couple projects going on. So originally, the grant was supposed to end at the end of September 30, but we have a couple of projects that will be wrapped up by then.
Sorry, what?
This is actually showing.
It's in the drive. You have to go to the drive.
I can pass this around too. The budget is actually showing that we have a deficit, which is true, but what I'll do is I will move staff time to cover it. So within our $400,000 grant, or the $200,000 for hazardous, we have the money. It's just some more was committed to assessments, and we'll, like I said, we'll take that out of another, we have 4 categories. So while it shows in this table as a deficit, it's not to the entire grant. It's just some moving around I have to do with the EPA.
Can we go over just the couple of ones that are still in progress or where site work's supposed to begin? So that ABCA cap.
Yes. So 250 Burge Street is the floodplain restoration project on the Whetstone. And
Okay.
so let me see how can I best explain this. So the state requires the ABCA analysis of brownfield corrective actions / CAP, the corrective action plan. They require that before you move into cleanup. One of the issues on that site is we still don't know where the urban fill soils are going to go. If they go to an urban receiving site, they're not considered contaminated, and that's fine, they can move along. If they go to a rural receiving site, then there might need to be some monitoring and documentation of where they're going. This is yards and yards and yards of soils, so we haven't found a place yet. What our environmental consultant was hoping that we could do is when we put it out to bid, we would kind of deal with it at that time. And it's been held up because the state doesn't like that response. They would like to know where they're going. So we haven't been able to finalize the ABCA cap. In the meantime, Vermont River Conservancy, who is the property owner, has gone out to kind of work on the cleanup phase of it. And they have hired a different environmental professional than the one we were working with. So it remains to be seen whether LE Environmental will finish off the APCA cap when we have the information, or if their new consultant, who is not one of our pre-qualified, will. Not sure how that's gonna work yet, so it's kind of an open question, but
Who'd they hire? Is that
they
one?
hired Cass.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is, Cass has this idea, and it hasn't, I'm not sure if they've floated it with the state yet, that they could over-excavate in parts of the property which need to have soils removed, and they could take the soils, the urban soils from one part of the site and put them where it's been over-excavated, and then put clean soil on top of it. And that would be one way to reduce energy costs from both the trucking and, and moving them around, and keeping them on an urban site. So it's interesting, and they're gonna basically see if the state will be agreeable to that. And if that's the case, then maybe we can finish off the APCA cap. But it's just kind of been a long process.
This might be a stupid question. Who has the control of where the soil goes?
It's really the choice of, I guess, the Vermont River Conservancy, the property owner has that can make that decision. Because there's so much soil that needs to be moved, it's in everybody's interest to keep it as close to the site as possible.
Yep, just to keep costs down.
To keep costs down.
How is it possible that it needs to be moved, but it can only be, it's possible to move it a couple of feet in one direction?
So the state, it has to do with the background levels, yeah. It has to do with the state soil standards. So previously, there was one set of standards that applied to any soils in the state. But urban areas tend to have a higher background level of PAH, just because, there's more burning going on. There's more roads, there's more grills. I mean, just kind of the fallout from atmosphere. And so they did some sampling, and they basically came up with 2 tiers. They had the urban soils and rural soils. And the urban soils have a higher level of PAHs, can have a background level that's higher. This site is in an urban area. But when you look at the mapped urban areas, it's not that expansive. So it's easier to keep it in an urban area, because then you don't even have to treat it like, the state doesn't care. But just move it around and take it, and because it meets, for these particular soils on the site, they meet that urban level.
But why, if it's in an urban area already, why can't we just leave it there?
Well, we need to excavate the soils because it's a floodplain restoration. We need to reduce.
Gotta get a total amount of soil out.
Yeah, I mean, it's
We're not
so,
taking the contaminated, we have to take the clean out and leave the contaminated there.
well, so the over excavation is, we take, so there's like thirds of the site. One area needs like 6 feet dug out, one area needs 4 feet, and then the north part needs like 2 feet taken out. Well, the thought is, if you over excavate in that 2 feet area where it's all clean, because that part of the site is clean.
Then you put the dirty stuff where.
You put the dirty soil, put some clean on top. But it's all about reducing exposure. And so usually you can put like 12 inches of clean fill on top of something, and they consider that an appropriate area.
And is there like a biological or like a breakdown process for the PAHs in terms of their in the soil? Like if it's reforested, or if it's like anaerobic or aerobic, is there a process where it starts to?
I don't know about PAHs. I'm trying to think.
Like I'm wondering if there's bioremediation on
Right.
site that could be done over the course of however long.
I don't know about bioremediation for PAHs. I'm trying to think of the one that there is some bioremediation. I found Vermont DEC to be, they're not opposed to bioremediation, but it's generally not the accepted thing because it takes a long time, so they're still gonna want that clean.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying, I'm just saying,
Just in
as
general.
a project,
like how
in
long-
addition, right, to
Mhm.
like help clean it up over however many decades or something.
And the archaeology?
I haven't heard from Vermont River Conservancy. They're funding that, or they might be approaching the Wyndham Regional Commission Brownfields. But they did need that additional level of assessment. I'm not sure that the state has directed exactly what they want on that, so I'm not sure where it is for the archaeology. I did have a meeting with the Vermont River Conservancy, so one of the things that so they're gonna need to go through the Act 250 process. They need to put together a maintenance plan that the town will be involved with, because if it was to become town property, the maintenance plan will basically say you can do this, you can't do this, that kind of thing. So they are interested in the town leading some of those conversations. So we talked about, and I expressed my concern over my schedule the next couple of months. But we talked about having some sort of event, maybe with a speaker, and then some conversation about what kind of restrictions we might want to put on the site. So that might be more of a November through winter conversation that we'll need to have. And they want to do some outreach, because if they're moving, even if they stay on-site moving, there's going to be a lot of truck traffic when this is constructed. And they still have not heard they've applied for a FEMA pre-disaster mitigation grant, and they have not heard whether or not they have that funding yet. So that's been the case with FEMA. It's been super slow. It was for the Melrose Terrace, but they were finally awarded, so. So it's definitely slowed down.
But it's not stalled.
It's
just,
not stalled.
It's slowing down. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's so many, with the finding some pre-contact artifacts and whatnot.
A lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Yep.
And so we spent it all. There's no more money.
There's no more hazardous. We do still have a lot of petroleum. I've not done great outreach on the petroleum funding, so that was something that Andrew will be working on. Because we have a year to use it, so.
So that 61,000 we still have?
Yes.
Okay.
Who's Andrew?
Will be
guy.
our new hire come October 1st.
Oh, okay. That must have been what you started with.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Where's he from, or anything?
He is a recent undergraduate college graduate. He went to school in Western Washington University, and he's originally from Connecticut.
Cool.
Well,
And then the 48 Elm Street, sorry, before we move on from
Yeah,
the
no,
hazardous,
it's fine.
48 Elm Street, is that the NYT property? And it says additional testing?
It's
just,
It is,
okay.
you know what? I didn't change the color on that. That is completed.
That's done.
oh,
And
great.
then Longview Paperboard.
Longview Paperboard is currently, that's the site that we are funding a portion of, and then the Vermont DEC is funding like another 70 or 60,000 on that site. It's owned by BDCC. It's the former Neenah paper mill up on off of Putney Road, off of Wellington. Sits on the Connecticut River. Neenah paper was closing last December, and BDCC stepped in. Longview Paperboard is actually operating it, but BDCC is the owner. Once they get a notice that they've completed all the environmental and put any caps in place that they need to, the intent is for Longview to take it over.
That was just because of the sale transaction, that a site like assessment had to be done? Or?
I think Longview was interested in it because it's actually Long Falls, sorry. There's a Longview forestry that works for the town. I think it's something Long Falls was interested in. I mean, paper manufacturers are notoriously dioxins
Yeah.
and whatnot, so I think they didn't want that liability. So if they were to just purchase it like that, then they would be in the chain of liability.
So BDCC is holding it for them, but then they're gonna use it to make paper.
They are, right now, they're operating. They were able to step in.
Oh, so it's being operated, but then it's gonna get
It's being
assessed.
operated, but it's being assessed at the same time. And then, so BDCC was able to get a $500,000 grant from the EPA for assessment and for cleanup. But we're doing this kind of initial, my expectation, I mean, ideally, there'll be no further testing needed, but they're looking at a host of things. There was documented underground storage tank leaks and other kind of above-ground storage tank leaks. There was documented chlorinated solvents found and refrigerants. They're assessing.
Right on the river.
They're assessing the groundwater, the soils. Also, they have their own wastewater treatment plant, so they're assessing the sludge from the lagoons.
Crikey, and when they're done with the assessment, is that public information?
It's its own wastewater.
Where do I get it?
You'll be able to get it from me, and you'll be able to get it from the Vermont
Yeah.
DEC, and you could ask BDCC as well. It's federal funds that are paying for this,
Yeah.
it's public.
How long does that assessment take?
This
When will they be
assessment,
done?
well, expecting some results by the end of next week and a report in October, but one never knows. They already had delays. They had a particular drill rig that they were using, and
Wow.
the surface,
I love-
they had
I
to
love
bring in
that
a
building.
different
It's
one,
so
so I
gorgeous building.
set it back. I think, we're expecting
It's
results
so cool,
possibly
especially
next
at night
week.
when it's all lit up.
But the plan, that 500,000 from the EPA is for remediation, so
Yes.
whatever you
It's a
find,
big-
there's money there
big
already
field.
to like deal with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they're
No,
looking
they
at,
own
they're
that
looking
one.
at PFAS,
That one right
PAH,
there.
dioxins and
There's a huge field right there that they
furans,
used to play like ultimate
VOCs,
frisbee, and they cut 'em
semi-VOCs,
off.
metals,
It's
so
like
a whole
huge.
host of potential
As long as
chemicals.
no trespassing, so it's
Good.
Yeah.
not- That's sad.
Okey dokey, are we good on all that?
So those are the sites.
And we're still waiting to hear if the extension will come through for the petroleum funds, or are we assuming?
Well, it's
that-
for these funds as well. I thought it was just gonna be for these funds, and they said, no, the whole thing gets extended another year, so.
Wow.
It's just a matter of them processing the paperwork, the EPA processing the paperwork at the same time as getting all these new grants out. But we'll be in a good position to apply for additional funds this year, so that is the intent.
All right, downtown design plan.
Alright. So, in the share file, I put kind of our upcoming public meetings. I just wanted to walk through that with you and start off by saying we will not have a regularly scheduled October Planning Commission meeting, which I think was October 7th. I think it was scheduled for October 7th, so.
Yeah.
We won't have a regular scheduled one. The Better Block Challenge is the next set of events. That's gonna be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the weekend of September 20th.
Wait, so sorry, are you looking at what are you looking at?
It's in the folder.
The downtown plan meetings?
Yeah.
Am I looking right here? Sorry.
In the Google Drive.
Yeah.
So we have
cannot
a
remember how to
meeting,
get
we have a
into the
meeting
Drive.
Friday, September 20th from 5 to 8.
No.
No.
Let me walk through it.
Okay, you walk through, yeah. walk through it.
So the Better Block Challenge is the 3 projects that we awarded, the alley project next to Candle of the Night and Penelope Ware, the bike lane on Flat Street, and the story walk up Main Street with art in front of the library. They basically will be installing on the Friday, and then 5 to 8, that's kind of the no, it's not gallery walk hour, sorry. Basically, they need to kind of staff these sites in these hours. We're also gonna have a headquarters at the Latches Arts, the little building, the little space where we met with the Brattleboro Listening Project, with probably some interactive stuff, so I'll be there. It would be great if you guys have time over any of that time, and you can give an hour or come check them out. I think the expectation for planning commissioners that weekend would be to check them out.
Which
and it-
weekend? I apologize.
20, 21, 22. So
Of
Friday, the 20th, 5 to 8.
October?
No,
September.
Okay, I was gonna say that's.
This month, next weekend,
September.
basically. Not the one,
Yeah.
the one after that.
Yeah.
So can everybody do that?
Yeah.
Do we want to just make sure that every day there's somebody on Friday, somebody on Saturday, somebody on Sunday?
I can be there on Saturday.
I cannot be there Friday or Saturday. I could do Sunday though,
Okay.
the 22nd.
Oh, that gets complicated, I don't know.
Well,
It
'cause
doesn't have
you
to be
don't-
the entire time,
Yeah,
though,
you
right?
just want people to
Like,
just drop by, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if
Yeah.
you can spend an hour in the headquarters, that would be great. But also really make it a point to stop by and check out the pop-ups.
Yep. So can you, I was listening, but I also wasn't. What's the
Yeah,
deal with
yeah.
the 22nd? I can't find it on Google Drive.
So it's 5 to 8 on Friday night. I can do an hour that night.
10 a.m.
Oh, I'm pretty flexible. Well, I'll commit to Friday
Okay.
if there's still opening there.
Friday, 5 to 8.
Yeah.
and Saturday, 9 to 3.
I'll be there early if you want to be there late.
So it's-
Super.
You can count on me to be late.
Great. I'll do 5 to 6:30, you can do 6:30 to 8. Somebody's there, Jessica's there on Saturday, Josh is there on Sunday.
where's the
I'll be there
location
the
for
entire
Sunday?
time too, so.
Oof.
Well, the Sunday, I think, is just
Overtime,
walk
right?
around and look at the
No.
things.
Yeah, you sound it.
Oh, that's-
So Friday
Yeah, but
is
that's
in
okay.
that,
See,
is
my
in
girls will
that
be at
place.
gymnastics Friday night, they'll be at gymnastics for 3 hours on Saturday, so. Spend a lot of time downtown anyway.
Okay, so we got that covered. What's next?
Next is, we were originally gonna have a meeting on the 25th, because the idea was to have a winner, and I thought there were way too many meetings, and we didn't necessarily need a winner. So we canceled that meeting.
Oh, no winner.
No winner, did
I
you
like
want a
that.
winner?
No, I like that.
Okay.
I don't like a winner.
Okay, I didn't
Winning
like
is-
it, and then I
Doesn't
looked,
Winning is
competitive.
overrated.
and when I put all this down, I was like, oh, no. So we got rid of that. So then
Hey.
Thursday, October 3rd, this would be, this would be a great one to have good representation from the planning commission. So like, if you're available that Thursday night,
3.
please, this is a public meeting. You can do it, it's all right.
No, I have a different advisory council meeting.
This is gonna be an interactive with stations that
no.
the consultants will be putting on. This is kind of to kick off the charrette weekend.
So it's,
6:30 to 8:30.
okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be here.
And that's gonna
Can I
be
show
right
up
here.
late and just,
Yeah, I
Be
might
like,
be
hey,
able
what's
to come
going
and
on?
show up late.
Yeah,
and where is it?
it's gonna be here, and then
Okay.
this in here, we might have breakouts in the planning department and maybe the Hannah Cosman.
All right, I'll be there. That sounds interesting. That's sufficient if there.
How late will it go until?
8:30 at the latest.
Latest is no time.
And that will be the kickoff. So
Yes,
it'll be
that's-
mostly presentations and not much participation.
No,
from the
it's
crowd.
gonna be a presentation and then there's gonna be breakout sessions.
Okay.
Good one to drive the public to.
6:30.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna be there for most of it.
All right, how about the 4th?
So the 4th, there's gonna be a series of walk and talks during the day. These are the consultants that are leading them. So there'll be one on kind of green stormwater infrastructure, one on biking and walking in the downtown. So the idea is they'll go out at various times. I think there'll be 2 in each session, that will repeat. So that people have different options of times to come to it, but kind of leading walks throughout the downtown and discussions with, people who come on them. So this is, if you have time and you can do it, that's great, but it's really consultant. I mean, Thursday night's consultant led too, but, if you're available and, can make it, I think the themes are there: resilient downtown, sustainable downtown,
So it goes
bikeable downtown.
like 10 to 4:30, or is it gonna go after people are out of work and school, or before at all?
Oh, which one am I?
Friday, October 4th.
Yeah,
10
Friday,
to
October
4.
4th
Oh,
looks
that
like it's
10
all
to
during
4?
the working.
No,
working
I've
day.
got the wrong time on that 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The next one, the open house,
Uh-huh.
I have that time wrong.
Okay.
That's the place for people's charrette.
Yeah.
host open
Well, what
house.
are the
They're all-
walk and
the
talks
open-
all
Okay, so the
during that
walk and
working day?
talks
Okay.
are
Yeah,
10, 12, and 2, basically.
I can speak to them about that.
That's-
Yes. Maybe they can lead one in the evening too.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, when does the time change?
November.
Oh, okay, so we should still have
Yeah,
light until post-work hours?
yeah. So the open house, again, I have the wrong times. I feel like that might be a 5 to 7 open house. And actually Ward Joyce and Brandy are coming down later this week. Ward has some, I think he wants to focus on kind of art making in that open house. He has some ideas, so we were gonna meet and he was gonna kind of share how he thinks it'll go. But I'm pretty sure the hours are 5 to 7.
For the.
The
okay, no,
open
well,
house.
On the 4th.
Yeah.
And it's at 118 Elliott.
So do we have anybody who can go
this
to
is all messed up.
the walk and
Yeah, I
talks?
was trying to.
I might be able to go, it depends on
5 to
who's
7 on
coaching.
the 4th.
This is-
That's during
this is-
gallery walk.
Yeah. Because the Saturday thing isn't there. The Saturday was supposed to be.
I'm starting to not trust the times I put my phone.
I'm sorry.
I'm getting confused now, too.
Okay. On August
Well, 'cause
4th.
it repeats.
October 4th, yeah. There's there's 2 activities on the Friday.
Oh, okay.
On Saturday, there is an open house. So the idea is, the consultants are in there, they're doing their design work, and people can stop in and see, and there'll be some interactive boards. It's again, it's not one of those things that we need to staff. I will be there. It'd be great if you guys could stop in, but it's not on the Saturday, which isn't showing on here. It's the 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. They're in there working. People can come by and see things.
And how do they get the information that they're gonna use to be working on?
All
Is
these
it-
other events.
All these other events?
In the background, yeah.
And the background research they've been doing so far? Okay. So the walk and talks, you're gonna see whether or not some of them can be post-work hours?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, I can commit to Thursday the 3rd.
Okay, so just to recap, so I'm understanding this correctly. Thursday the 3rd, 6:30 to 8:30, there's a stakeholder meeting, like evening thing.
Yep.
And then there's the 3 walks,
Mhm.
10, 12, and whatever, 1:30 or 1 on the 4th. And then there is on the 5th from 10 to 4, the working studio at 118 Elliott Street. Did I miss something?
That Friday night, I think from 5 to 7 is also, it's gonna be an open house.
Downtown Design Shred open house.
And is
I
that
think
just like
so.
the thing on Saturday? or
Also
is
at
that
Elliott
different?
Street.
It's different.
Okay.
And that's
It's
at 118.
Elliott, yeah.
So that's why they have the walk and talks during the days, because they're gonna be working in the evening?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a
Okay.
wedding to go to that weekend, but it's like the people are kind of removed from me, so it's not, I think I should go.
I think you should go to the
I
wedding.
think I
Yeah,
should
weddings
go.
are important.
Especially if you
should go.
RSVP'd, yes.
Mm.
And then wrap up Wednesday, October 9th.
Yeah, so this is where they're gonna present the work to the community. This is gonna be at the museum, and more of a community discussion. So that would, again, be if you can make it, please be there.
6:30 to 8:30, right?
That's a Thursday.
That's a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh, wait,
Yeah, October 9th.
October 9th. Okay.
So do we have some people who can definitely go?
I should be able to.
Go back. At what times?
I can go. Is that like a? you
I
say
think it's
minimum
actually, the
time?
hours are gonna be 6:30 to 8.
So that sounded really important, like you really want people to show up. Okay.
Because the community
Yeah.
meetings, it's nice to just have a,
I'm only
Never say
asking
who's the-
to keep like the
Yeah.
important, the level
Yes.
of importance in order, so this is a good one.
this is one.
This is a
Yeah,
good one to
cool.
show up for.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, we've got 2 people, so Joshua
Yep, I
can be
can,
down.
yes, according to my schedule, I can go someplace.
Jessica, can you go?
And what's gonna occur at that
maybe.
evening wrap-up thing?
So they're basically the open studio work and all the stuff they've done, they're gonna be presenting it and having discussions, because then they're gonna take it away and kind of formulate the plan.
And send us back a plan. And do we have any input on the plan?
Yes.
Okay,
We'll
so
have it.
we should go to this because then we'll
Yeah.
need to listen to what the community says so we can assess the
Mhm.
quality of the plan.
Yes.
Are they gonna be recorded?
Yes, BCTV is
So in
recording.
the off chance that we miss pieces that we can watch it. Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right,
Okay, got it, all right.
everybody good on that?
See why we're not meeting in October? Oh, wait, we are.
Over and over. And
Over and
I will
over and
fix
over
this
again.
schedule.
Okay.
I was copying and pasting. Being very careful.
All right.
So maybe when you send it out, you could put the people's names next to it so we remember what we've agreed to do.
Sure.
That would be very helpful.
I haven't agreed to anything.
Yes, you have. I have you down for Thursday, October 3rd, 6:30 to 8:30, and Wednesday, October
Really?
9th, 6:30 to
agree.
8:30.
I didn't hear that.
Let's play the tape back. I'm sure you said that.
I will try. I'm in Lyme. I'm supposed to be in Lyme in a reception from 4 to 6.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes,
So-
you said you might be able to come late.
Yeah,
Right.
so like
But
assuming I run out of Lyme
Yeah.
and it's an hour away, I would get here at like 7 or something. And hopefully I
Is
would
that
be
for
eating
the-
at that
for the-
reception
for the
in Lyme.
3rd?
Huh?
For the 3rd?
That's for the 3rd, yeah.
Okay. I'll put
But these are all in my calendar. I will try to show up as much as possible.
Cool. Okey doke.
Okay,
So.
now we got surveys?
Yeah.
Yes, the surveys.
Okay. So Brandy wants to do some surveys. What she's found effective, Felicity and I saw a first version of this and we're like, what? This is the shortest survey, like what is the point?
You didn't
She's-
see it, don't you?
She's found it to be effective to like go out with a short survey and build up the list and then send out other short ones. She's done it with town plans and feel that people are responsive rather than hitting them with, you know, a longer survey.
Wait, going out meaning emailing a survey?
Right, so we have this email list that we put it out, but you know, we get it out there other ways, Front Porch Forum and Brattleboro and stuff to get people to take the survey. And then once you have their information, you kind of go out with another survey. So that's kind of what she's thinking of doing. So the first one is kind of the short one. Why are you in downtown? Followed this, and survey 2 would be a follow-up.
This sounds like you would be doing it when people are downtown, like face to face.
Like an intercept survey?
No, it's meant to be online.
Why
I
would it
guess
say
it could
what
be done.
brings you downtown? Oh. Okay, I think even if I'm sitting at my desk at home and I read what brings you downtown, I would think, I'm not downtown. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay, so
I'm reading it as
phrasing.
like, what brings you downtown? Like, as opposed to,
Why
like,
did you
why
go
would you
to-
go
why
downtown?
do
Or
you
why
go
do you go
downtown?
downtown?
The first question is, how frequently do you go downtown Brattleboro on? So it kind of sets up the second one, what brings you downtown?
I know, I'm just telling you what,
Yeah.
even
yeah,
though
no,
I read the
hear
first
you,
one, I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, what? I'm not
Well, we can
downtown.
change it to why do you go downtown?
Yeah,
Yeah.
14 times a day.
It's better. I mean, it's better than the one I saw before.
Brings you downtown.
Yeah.
But can you go through what exactly is that they want? Like, what are they hoping, what sort of information are they hoping to get from people in these surveys? How
What three
important
words
are
do
they?
you use to describe downtown?
It doesn't seem tailored to our RFP. You know, the themes of our RFP, it just seems general.
Well, this is general.
Right.
The other ones are gonna be a bit more specific.
So there will be more.
Yes, so survey 2 is one of the follow-up surveys that deals with, you know, biking and walking and the comfort of downtown.
Oh, right,
and,
okay.
Okay, so that's one. And then number 2, the formatting on this, I'm sorry, you're gonna maybe have to walk us through this because the formatting, at least what I'm looking at, oh, you know what? I opened it in, hang on a sec.
Yeah, I don't think it seems, I mean, the formatting on the line.
No, I opened it in Google Docs and it messed it all up.
Oh, okay.
So number 2.
I do think it's weird though, still. I think that the demographic information is kind of tied to how they feel about downtown, possibly.
Is she gonna
There's
link it to an
there's a
ICS?
suggestion,
like-
there's a bit of a suggestion of somehow we're trying to figure out who you are and why you feel the way you feel.
But you wouldn't, if you take these separate, you're not gonna get that.
Right.
I mean, I almost feel like this should be one survey, and then if she's got follow-up surveys. I was really struggling when I was on the phone trying to, no, I think we should just go out with one survey.
Yeah, and then just hammer it and remind people over and over again to take it until.
Right, because I mean, we're,
I still feel like survey
think-
1 is,
survey 1 isn't terribly useful. I think survey 2, the one thing that I'm struck by survey 2 is this question of, there are comfortable places to sit and rest. I'm thinking, well, what if everybody says there aren't?
Then there aren't.
But is that something that we're looking, is that part of what we're
Yes.
trying to understand? Is whether or
it-
not downtown is a place where people can sit in public space and feel comfortable and rest?
I think like the public spaces really needs to be pronounced here, like made in bold
Capitalized?
or capitalized or something, because
'Cause this is what we care
what
about, is public
defines a
space.
you know, I'm like, yeah, the works. Like if you're actually asking about public spaces, I don't even know, you know, like, are there particular spaces you have in mind? Because like, is the space inside the Brooks house that's part of CCV a public space?
no.
Yeah.
So there is
But like
not much
Pliny
public
Park-
space
There's-
in
right,
Brattleboro.
Well, the sidewalk, there used to be some more street furniture along the
Yeah,
sidewalk
there
and it
is.
was pulled out. So the transportation center, I mean, there used to be more seating there, that's been removed. There used to be, well, there's Whetstone Pathway, there's seating. But there used to be more street furniture.
But you can name, there's like 5 places where, well, I mean, some of this would apply to those particular places and some of it applies to something else. I don't know, I think there might just be some cognitive dissonance around what is public
What is
space and
public
which
space?
places you're talking about.
Yeah, is
Because
it,
like there are safe places to walk, yeah, and no.
Yeah.
There are safe places to bike, yeah, and no, like depending.
right.
Downtown?
There are fun places to play. For me? For my kid. And is that public space? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
the Stone Church?
No, the
Like,
public,
what-
public space question is a really interesting one. I mean, and it seems to me like we haven't actually articulated that we're so concerned with public space in this process. But this survey seems to focus, I mean, I'd be
Well, I
more
think
than happy to say,
placemaking-
let's go for public space.
But I think placemaking is all about improving the public space.
But the alley project is private. So we approved a Better Block Challenge.
And wouldn't
project
the alley
is on
next to Insight be private too?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
that's the
The new
alley you're
inside?
talking
Are
about.
you
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about the new inside?
Except it's a place, yeah, I mean, yes, it is private,
Am I talking about what?
but it's also a place that people walk to get to a business.
Right, but I'm, this is, I guess, to this point of like, what's public space? Is it public? I mean, obviously, it's not public if we
Right.
call it public, because it's actually a legal term. So if it's private, it's private. Even if people think it's public,
Yep.
if the landowner comes in and says you can't be here anymore, it's very much private. And they have the right to do
You
that.
can't be on the stoop, or you
Yes,
can't.
you can't be on the stoop, you can't walk through this alley, you
You
can't
can't
put that
lean
picture
on this
here, you
building.
can't perform, do whatever it is you're doing here.
Yeah.
So it seemed, I mean, and this is a really touchy subject, right? So I'm curious about what kind of responses we're gonna get and whether it's actually gonna be really helpful. Or could just be really confusing and divisive and distressing. Especially because we got a lot of things like strongly agree or unsure or strongly disagree that are not necessarily gonna tell us very much.
And I think I'm more struggling with the fact that you're not actually being able to extrapolate this to any particular spot in town. you know, because it's not actually asking about any particular spot in town, so downtown.
So are we stuck on the public space question?
It's a
or on
very
the-
general
It's
vibe
too
about whether
general.
you're kind of comfortable
Downtown.
downtown or not, is what it comes down to. That's, I can't imagine what else you would.
Right. And if you
Is
think
that
that
what they're
Brooks
looking
House,
for?
if you think Brooks House, that little space is public, and you are very happy to go in and get your coffee and sit there and nobody bothers you because of the way you look, then you're gonna say strongly agree.
Yeah.
But if you're one of those people who knows that that's private space and doesn't feel comfortable sitting in there, then you're gonna say something different. I mean, and it's not gonna tell us very much in the end.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm on the planning commission and I cannot clearly identify what would be a public and what would be a private space, most of the people, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
A lot of folks don't understand businesses are private spaces.
Yeah.
I do agree that this should be one survey. Like if we sprinkle the first survey and the second survey together, you know, I think it would be a little more coherent for people to understand like what this is about instead of separating two different surveys.
Or if there is a second survey, it should be a deep dive, not just another very general.
Yeah.
Because they're all interesting questions, they're all good questions in one survey.
Is it possible to create a map of the public space in the town and add that to the piece?
Yeah.
Having a look at the map, which identifies very
Yeah.
clearly.
That's
what-
very systematic.
Yes,
Little dots
three
there.
little places over here that are
When
determined.
we did the
referring to.
working study, that was a long survey,
Yeah.
had a really good response regardless. And it did go through and evaluate the public, like we were specific. What do you think about
This
Preston
one.
lot? What do you think about the Harris lot? What do you think about Hybrid? And it was, you know, similar to this, but it was, had a certain number of questions.
So maybe we could actually identify the 3 or 4 or 5 public spaces and say, do you feel comfortable in Plain
In
Park?
these specific
Yeah.
spaces, yeah.
And then you could put an
I
openness.
guess,
I mean, okay, so another, sorry.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure how useful that is. I mean, I hear what you're saying. Like, I might be more interested in how do people feel about the streetscape rather than the parks. I mean, we know that there's some discomfort at times in certain parts of downtown. I don't know that we need to assess every little.
Yeah. If we draw attention to it, then we're gonna get a whole bunch of.
I'm just sort
Like
of
a
thinking,
whole lot
if
of
we
opinion.
discover that people would be happy to go to these spaces if there was more seating, that would be worth knowing.
Or
Yeah.
easier access, or like
So
better
the
cross-
question should be,
Or
Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
like public Wi-Fi.
would you utilize this space more if it had XYZ question instead of a vague public space?
Are you comfortable?
Yeah, are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Although
Would you
there's
be more
been-
comfortable in this space if it had?
There's been oodles of studies done on urban design, and they categorically say people are happier when there's a place to sit down. So it seems silly for us to revisit that question. We should just put more seating as part of our downtown master plan.
Well, I mean, it was like Friday night at the transportation center alley, actually. I thought it, curious
It was
to your
fun.
opinions, but there was lighting, there was music, there was seating, there was, we had over 300 people that came through there and stopped and talked with other people, and it was a wide variety of people. It was really good and comfortable.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, there's some, I guess there's just some of these things that seem like no-brainers and some of them that seem, I don't know what kind of information.
So you're still feeling like this is way too generic. So what are, I guess, what are
I
the-
think the question is, what are they really trying to learn from these surveys? And if it's like, do people feel comfortable, and what are people interested in? And I mean, I think those, how do they feel about downtown? If that helps in their design process, great. I mean, maybe they use that in a way that we just don't.
We can't
wrap our
understand.
brains around.
Yeah, I
And
guess
that's
I'm.
fine.
But they have all the data, the same data that we have, that we've been living in with all of the, what's the turmoil around the underhoused. So it's hard, especially since that turmoil is ongoing and keeps on getting produced in the media. It just seems like this is gonna be back to that again, and we know all that. We've got pretty good information on how people feel and how divisive an issue that is. Is there some place we can go beyond that, rather than give them an opportunity to revisit it?
You know, I was just reading all these in my mind, taking out the words public spaces in every question, and every single time I was like, oh, that makes more sense. Like, if you just remove public spaces, and like, because it's clearly like getting at kind of a general feeling about being downtown. So I think you would, like, with public space in it, there's all this cognitive dissonance about,
So,
what are they talking about?
well,
You know, as
they're
opposed to
talking
being
about
like, how do you
streets.
feel downtown?
Yeah, they're talking about the streets, sidewalks, parks, parking lots, but then again, you know,
Et
there's
cetera.
the alleys and the, yeah.
So please indicate the level of agreement with the following statements about downtown Brattleboro.
Yeah. Either yeah, and then I feel like I could easily answer this, you know, I'd be like, yes, that, like, easily.
But then.
But when it's defining the public space, and then you're like, I do not feel at risk from traffic, I'm like, in the public space? Isn't the road public? You know what I mean? It's just it becomes completely confusing to me.
But like when I visit the park in front of the courthouse, I do feel at risk from traffic.
Yeah.
Right?
Getting over there for sure.
Getting there is terrifying. It's a lovely park though.
And, I mean, there are
Very
comfortable places to
underutilized
sit and rest if you have the money to buy a cup of coffee.
Yes.
But maybe not if you don't. So if we take out public space there, then we get an
Right.
ambiguous response.
Right.
So we might have to
Yeah.
So what,
tweak that
leave it
one.
in? You're saying?
Well, I'm saying for some of the, I mean, again, it seems like it really kind of depends on what they want to know.
Well, can we start to, like, there's obviously, taking a few minutes, there's a paragraph about the survey. Can we go into a little bit more detail about what the survey is about? Just explain to people, like, kind of like guide the process?
I don't think you want to put too much
I know,
about it.
because then you're gonna
You don't
read it,
wanna-
then you're
people
gonna
don't
get
read it.
bored and
Don't read it.
stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll
also
take
you
it.
don't wanna,
I
like-
read that at all.
But I think that there is that question of like specific town managed public spaces, or generally how do you feel downtown, and which one do they want to know, which one's really going to help them with their process. And maybe that's the two surveys, is that they get this general feel in their initial one,
Yeah.
and they do a deeper dive on another one with specifically this park or this place or this sidewalk. Or
Well,
I
the
also
survey
think there
one-
should just be one survey.
What's that?
I think there should just be one survey too. It's not like either of these
If it
are
worked
long
with
enough that
parking.
you would, like,
Half of the questions in the first one are just
It's
repeated in the
same.
second one.
Yeah.
I do
5
like-
through 10.
I do like the question number 2, why do you go to downtown? And I like it because
Yeah.
you gave me a different reason that was on here. And I thought, well, you know, people have all sorts of reasons
Yeah.
for going to downtown, and
Yeah.
sure, what yours.
Oh yeah,
is.
sure. I mean, I lived right near downtown, and I'd go downtown when I was bored, or had to take my daughter for a walk, or like wanted a place to hang out and a place to run into people. Like, it was because it was growing up in mall rat culture. Like, it was our mall because we don't have one anywhere near here.
Just a general
Is this-
sense of vibrancy or excitement.
what is she actually trying to get out of
Is
this
that it?
question?
Which one?
Oh.
The number,
Yeah,
what brings
I
you
mean-
downtown?
Why do you,
Community.
Yeah.
It was community.
are people shopping downtown? Like, why do you primarily go to downtown? Because you're visiting the stores, or it's your social life, or, I mean, it's.
To see another human being.
Right?
What I'm asking, many of these things are almost obligate, you know, or you go downtown because it's our downtown. You know, it's not necessarily what brings me there. You know what I mean? Like, if I lived in Greenfield, there might be something in Brattleboro that would bring me here. But, you know, going to the library, going for what, I mean, all these things are like, there's nothing distinct. In this question, you're not identifying what might be distinct that would actually bring you to downtown Brattleboro.
These are all just things that you find in a downtown, that if you need, you go downtown to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You you do your mission to one of these places,
Right.
and you leave.
Right.
You hope you didn't get a parking ticket.
You hope
and
you don't
leave.
do.
And I could see that you might get some variability in the responses.
For the record, my husband got a parking ticket in the city of Keene, so it happens elsewhere.
I was there 2 days in a row when she gave me the first ticket, and I neglected to pay my parking ticket twice. I was working there for 8-hour shifts, 2 days in a row, and I forgot. And I was like, oh my God, like run outside roughly, like an hour and a half each time. And then I was like, oh, I gotta go pay it. I never got a ticket.
Mark said he was there for 15
Towed one
minutes and
time.
got a ticket.
Yeah.
I got towed when I was setting up for a fundraiser.
Sorry.
It's all right.
No,
Anyways, yeah.
So this is gonna get at one aspect of it, but, and I could see that you might get a lot of, that you would be able to discern what is bringing people downtown among these choices, right? Like, oh, everybody's shopping, or everybody's just trying to eat, or people are only going downtown for an appointment or something.
I think the idea is to, figure out what is attracting people to downtown. What,
And if that's the situation, like if we want honest answers, like, are we really that concerned about people being divisive? Like, or
well, this one I don't think is.
This one isn't,
Right,
this
yeah.
one isn't, it's more about the public space.
How comfortable
one.
do you
yes,
feel?
but
How
I mean,
comfortable
like
do you
if people,
feel? How safe do you feel?
with the negative comments, we should listen to those also. and
Yeah, no,
hear
I
those out.
just don't wanna, there's
Yeah.
this sort of circular over and over and over again.
Oh,
where
yeah.
There's a lot of information we already have, we don't need to hear that information again.
Yeah, especially for the
Nice
purpose
to
of
know.
this survey.
Right.
I get that, but if that's what comes out, then
Oh,
I
yeah,
think-
we'll
Well,
come
yeah,
out,
yeah,
it'll come out
yeah.
at a free form, it did with the parking study.
Yep.
Yeah, it just seems like is there more we can learn with this rather
Yeah.
than learn what we already know?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, like if we could phrase the questions in a better way to be more.
Yeah, and
so-
presumably these place sense have read all of the Commons articles and the
Oh,
Reformer
yeah.
articles and all that kind of stuff. So based upon that, is there a way
Joined the
that they can
Brattleboro
frame these
Well,
questions
that's
so
an
that it
excellent
suggests
place of
that
people
they
being
do
engaging,
know that?
It's scary, but it's a good place to work.
Because I can imagine a person saying, oh, this is an outside, consultant, they don't know, I have to tell them.
Right.
Mhm. And I have another question about the surveys. How will they be
So typically it's SurveyMonkey or
Yeah.
whatever, so, we'll have to publicize the survey. And then we make hard copies available as well, usually at the library, but I'm sure we could do Groundworks or the Transportation Center, like we can drop them in different places with a box. So we did the parking study. So that there's paper as well as the digital.
So can we solve the question of the public space?
Yes. We can try. We can give guidance.
Yes, we can give guidance.
I think it would be, I think there's a general comfort question about downtown, comfort, safety question, which these questions would get to. But then I think it might also make sense to do a map or try to pull out the particular places you're talking about, and figure out how to ask a question about those places that wouldn't be divisive. Like, are you safe here? You know what I mean? Like, it could be like, which of these places would you go to if you wanted to sit and have a conversation? Which of these places would you go to have a cup of coffee? Which of these places would you take your kid to play, if that applies? You know what I mean? And then use that to
Rather
frame-
than, I don't feel comfortable here, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Or do like just a little like a bullet point of like an educational element of like, did you know there are only 5 public spaces downtown? Or something like that. Or did you know that businesses aren't public spaces? Like something like that,
Not educating, we're just surveying.
Okay, but I mean like to help with the survey, to like kind of guide it maybe.
Yeah.
And is Crowley Lot downtown?
No.
Yeah, so I don't.
It's not?
I mean, when I'm
Elementary
looking at
park,
these and it's
that's
like,
not
where
the
would
same.
the kids play? I'm like, there's no place to take the kids to play downtown.
Rec center, the green space, the.
Boys and Girls Club.
Plenty Park.
I don't think of the rec
Oh,
center as
public spaces.
space.
Right.
So it doesn't come to
Lots
mind
of
at all.
programs, yeah, no, you're right. It's
You know what I mean? I'm
building
thinking like
programs and-
outdoor
Yeah.
areas and stuff, so.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
well,
one
I mean,
thing
but
not
that in itself
included-
is kind of telling, like, where
Yeah.
do you take your kids in public spaces downtown?
Well,
Here in
I'm
front of
thinking
the
things
church.
like the block parties, like the Elliott Street, that's not on the first survey, I don't think. That kind of like street fairs or something is something that would bring you downtown. I don't know, I'd take my kids to the Works, and then Mocha Joe's, bookstore.
Beatnik.
Beatniks
Beatniks.
is a favorite.
Kids
Yeah.
Place.
Yeah, none of that is.
Hmm?
None of it's
Because I'm thinking like Kids Place and Boys and Girls Club, but they're not public.
Right. I mean, occasionally, like if there's a protest at Plenty Park, but that's not really, you know what I mean? Like we'll go in
Right.
there, we'll go join. The kids run around in there, so they figure out how to play in there. But it's not a destination.
And is that a public space? Is Plenty
Yeah,
Park a public?
that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be.
Yeah.
So, what if we go through survey 2 and cross out the divisive kind of questions, or the, you know, we don't need this.
Well,
I mean-
if we start, public spaces in downtown, streets, that's self-explanatory, sidewalks, self-explanatory. And then name the parks and name the parking lots.
You mean at the
And then
top?
take out the et cetera.
Yes.
Because really, that's it, you've just listed them all, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think it would be bad to just have a map, you know,
Up
just
there,
a
yeah,
drawn,
being
a drawn
like Plenty Park
line
and
map,
blah,
it doesn't
blah,
have to
blah,
be
blah. Yeah.
any sort of special.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can rephrase comfortable and just say, are there places to sit and rest? Because comfortable, I mean, I think just whether or not there are places to sit and rest seems like a really important thing to know versus whether or not they're comfortable, because that's such a, I mean, one person's comfort is another person's discomfort.
Right, but
Um,
do they exist?
do they
Is maybe
exist
a
is-
different question than, would
Would you
you
use them?
use them, or do you feel safe using them, or are you comfortable using, right? What makes you feel comfortable in town? And what makes you
Right.
feel uncomfortable?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
We are asking about downtown here, define the same as,
Yeah, I mean, we can define it, I'm just not sure about the software, putting up a map in the particular.
Well, I'm just sort of thinking about like like a line drawing.
Mhm.
It just kind of has downtown, dunk, dunk, dunk. Those are the.
Mhm.
So in the comfort question, how important is it that people are comfortable?
If they're not comfortable, they're not gonna use it.
Okay, so
It's true.
so I guess I was
I
thinking
usually
about
do it
softness.
uncomfortable.
But comfortable is like I'm happy to sit and rest here, and I'm not going to be accosted, or I'm not going to feel vulnerable, or that's what comfortable place to sit and rest is.
It's so interesting.
So, I mean, that's good. What's comfortable, well, you said your initial thing was, is there a comfortable surface to sit
Yeah,
on?
no, that's what I was thinking. When I read that, I was thinking, is it like a bench that's designed to, is it the right height and blah, 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 these are really design questions versus, even though it looks very comfortable, I'm not gonna sit there because I would be afraid. It's a different question, or a different response.
You could almost ask both questions. There are places to sit and rest. There are comfortable places to sit and rest. And you would get slightly different answers. And
What are
then,
your favorite or most comfortable places?
All right.
maybe if all the questions were just open-ended.
No.
I love those kinds of surveys.
I
don't
don't
think
think
they're
they're
They're really hard to,
get people to answer. I would
well, no, they're just hard to get anything out of it though, too, like to compile the
Yeah.
results and
Mhm.
you need to have free form in there, but.
Yeah, I mean, the safe thing seems like safe places to bike, that's a really good one, right? There either are or there aren't. And it's not a question of somebody's opinion, right?
Mhm.
It's,
There-
safety's pretty straightforward, right? It's that, am I afraid I'm gonna get hit by a car or not?
Well, but it depends on where. I mean, again, it's
Do you
like,
really
there
think
are
that
safe
downtown?
places to bike, I would
Downtown?
say, like.
In
they're
downtown?
great.
Well, that's kind of the way I
It's
felt
just
about the
this
flat,
this very narrow area.
about the
No,
flat
I
street
know.
project. I was like, a bike lane there? That's like a chill street. But then, I think they brought up some good points about why a bike lane could be an asset there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Main Street is a very safe place to
It's
bike.
terrifying.
See, it's
Yeah.
totally like, Connor and I biked downtown onto Main Street and parked our bikes. And I in no way felt not safe at all. Because the traffic is slow and, I didn't feel like.
You have to feel
You
confident
didn't
like
with the
taking up the
parallel
lane.
parking and the trucks.
No, he went on the
He-
sidewalk, I went on the road, whatever.
Oh.
You're not
And
supposed
it
to
was
bike on the
like-
side.
No.
No.
I feel like I'm gonna run somebody down if I bike on the sidewalk.
Yeah, blip that video.
Yeah, really. All right, where are we going? We gotta
Well,
do something here.
okay, so.
It's
So I
hard.
feel, so I think
Surveys are. really-
I think you're right about the divisiveness, and I think that this question number 3 on the second survey, about feeling safe,
Mm-hmm.
it may not be helpful to move forward. I think knowing the triggers that make people feel unsafe might be more helpful than just knowing if people feel unsafe.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. And the way these are worded, I know she's trying to mix it up by saying I do not feel at risk from traffic, but I'm literally like, I do not, it requires too much thinking to figure out how you feel about it to even answer it.
And like you were talking about earlier, the location, like some streets, like Flat Street, I don't feel at risk of traffic.
Yeah.
But Elliott Street, I do. Or
Yeah,
Main
yeah.
Street,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think 3 is kind of one of the
Yeah.
3 and.
Although these days. I
Like,
feel
what
at
are
risk
some of the things that make you avoid an area
People are
downtown?
horrible these days.
People are horrible. Is it important for us to know? I mean, we know that there are some people who don't feel safe downtown.
Yeah.
And we know that there are places downtown that aren't safe.
Right. And if we get answers
They're
about
perceived not to be
other
safe.
people
They're perceived
downtown,
as
we
safe.
can't do a lot about how other people use public space.
Right.
However,
And
we can do things about lighting and sound and smell and color and.
I'm just trying to think on the flip side, some of these questions, is it useful to know because we think that there's some other, to use the popular term now, the narrative is, is one way, but it's not necessarily shared. I mean, that would be the point of asking some of these questions, I get, but I think the potential for them to be more divisive or this to be a dumping place rather than constructive is probably outweighs it in my mind.
I'm also wondering if the level of, if there's like a direct correlation between the usefulness of a space and the comfort or the safety in a space, right? I don't know where I'm going with that.
What?
Usefulness meaning like the diversity of things you could do there, right? So if you think of like Plainview Park, you can sit and wait for a bus. There's a garbage can, you can protest.
You can have a
Sometimes there
concert.
might be music. There's really nothing to play on. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
there aren't lights at night, there's not,
Sit around Christmas.
Yeah,
no,
I see where
and then
you're
it's a
going,
sad
though. It's
tree.
the-
You know what I mean? So it's like if you took a space and expanded its the diversity of use in the space, then
Yeah, it just seems to me that there's so much that we already know from basic planning information and data that, yeah, spaces that draw people in have lots of things to do. The spaces that have more people in them, more people go to because they're safer.
Mhm.
These are things that, you know, are pretty basic.
yeah, and our
Yeah, I
public
think-
space, like I'm trying to think of the public, they're really actually just not that useful.
Right.
Like
They're not-
from a, you know, like I go downtown every day to work. I'm never sitting in any one of our public spaces because they are not useful. Because there's no Wi-Fi, it's not comfortable to sit there, that's not,
They're
you
dangerous to
know,
get
like,
to.
they
So
can't
you
talk,
have
you
to go-
sit,
Yeah.
there's no cover, there's, you know.
Right, everything that you need in a public space, we don't have in our public spaces. We already know that.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll come out in the survey.
So are these with the merchants?
Isn't there something we don't know
Randy and I
that we
had a
don't know?
meeting with the DBA merchants and at their merchants meeting, and it was not well attended, unfortunately, and I'm sure some of these will be put out in other places, but they were given kind of a scorecard for public spaces that they wanted to assess that was more, I mean, I'd almost, I can go get it, it's sitting in my office, but it might be better than trying to do this kind of survey or something. I hear what you're saying, Kathy. I'm thinking of a park in Littleton, New Hampshire that is, you know, there's parking in front of it, and then along the back, there's all these instruments, and I like to go and play them. And then there's like a path that you can walk on. You know, and then the alleyway to get down there has umbrellas covering it, and it's artsy, and it's fun and interactive.
Yeah.
And something as simple as Wi-Fi. I mean, sit down, check your email, whatever. People don't do that anymore, do they?
Well, there's
So
some,
I'm hearing like we want to assess the quality of the space, not so much like.
why you visit it or why you don't visit it.
Well, and also we
Yeah.
want to go beyond what we already know. We
Right.
already know that our public spaces are not really very useful.
So what would make them useful?
What would make them useful?
Specifically,
You know, I
like
mean,
each
sort of,
space, what
you know,
would make it, how would it become useful?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't, it would be, I mean, the survey can't be too directive, right? But, you know, would you go here if there were games? Would you go here if there were instruments? Would you go here if
There's a-
there was Wi-Fi? Would you go here if the chairs were more comfortable?
This is totally off subject. There was an NEA grant a few years ago, and this one gentleman put out, he was going to build park benches that were musical instruments. And he didn't get the grant, you know, other folks did. You know, I was
Huh.
like, that's amazing. You know, like, why didn't he get the money?
Yeah, yeah.
Remember that one?
What's that? It's
That would be
the-
very cool.
Yeah, they got the folks that did like the beads on the parking garage got the money instead. Yeah, but there's a guy like he was gonna make benches that you can also hit with like sticks and stuff, and they're like musical instruments. But yeah, he didn't get it. He didn't get the money. So totally off subject, but
Yeah, no, well,
there's
not-
there's a
not
lot
me-
of missed opportunity in this area.
Yeah.
So
There, yeah, I guess that's all. So what do we all suggest?
Back to the drawing board.
Back to the drawing
Yeah, a little
board?
bit, yeah. And, I mean, many of these I think are great, and, on survey one, the what brings you downtown, how frequently you go downtown, those sort of basic ones I think are totally workable. It's just that the where you dig in more needs to be.
we're gonna ask her to redo the survey completely.
Sure.
Back to the drawing board.
Keep survey one
Oh,
and
sure,
make it
that's
into
fine.
one general
Yeah,
one.
this is
and
not-
Define the public space.
This was like 35 minutes. Sorry.
And take out question 3,
Yeah.
or change it to.
On
would you-
survey 2?
On survey 2, would you spend more time in the public parks if there were 1, toys, 2, Wi-Fi, 3, comfortable seats?
Yeah, and have another. And other options.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
other, and then people can check all that apply, you know, how many people want toys, how many people want comfortable seats, how many
Yeah.
people want Wi-Fi.
Do you think it would also be useful to actually like rank if you took the public spaces and have them, people rank them, like the Pliny Park, what's the park at the fountain?
At
The
Dysfunction
Wells
Junction, that
Fountain?
one?
No, the
or
one
the
up
other
here? All of them, so Wells Fountain, that one,
As
that
well
was,
as Fountain, the
Right.
other one is, not Prospect.
Where's the fountain? Where's
our
Wells?
planning director does not know.
No, the name of the park at the bottom of Main
Regard-
Street.
Whatever it's called,
Main Street
right?
Park
Like
has
Main
a-
Street Park.
Yeah.
Like if you took
Not Main Street
those
Park.
and you asked a question about ranking
That's
them,
why we
like
should
which
choose
of
that.
these
Yes.
would you be more likely to sit in or you know hang out
Yeah, I
in
think they
and
still
why
have
or
lost
something.
the right.
You could maybe at least get a sense of which of the spaces is preferred. If
Right,
there is a preference.
and then it would be interesting to know why, I mean, because maybe it's the easiest one to get to, maybe it's the one that's closest to XYZ, more safe area of town.
It may be familiarity. I mean, I would say
Right.
like I would tend to Pliny Park and sitting in those seats just because I've been in that area with groups of people.
Whereas the one at the other end, you know, I have only ever walked through on my way to the co-op between there and Marlboro. And then I don't even think of Wells Fountain as a park. Like,
Oh, it's really nice.
you know what I mean? Frederick and I did sit over there
I mean, if
the
you
other
play
night.
Pokemon Go, you'll go through it.
Oh.
It's interesting that Brattleboro Common is not in downtown.
No, it's not.
It's ridiculous.
But, I mean, actually, the green space and stuff.
Oh, right,
Down
there's-
on-
Down by the river.
Yep, down by the river. I think it's worth getting some information on that.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna be a
Not
focus
even
of the
thought of
charrette.
that.
It's gonna be a
Right.
focus of the charrette, but you may as well collect some information that could be useful.
all right, good,
Sorry, Brandy.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad.
Oh, no, she's gonna watch this
No.
video. She
Yeah.
can get the full
Yeah,
conversation.
she'll get the full conversation.
I wish she was here so she could explain the phrasing of the questions. But obviously, it's fine that she's not. And I think we're figuring it out.
Additional outreach, what's up with that?
You see.
So I am meeting, Brandy and I met with the Downtown Brattleboro Alliance merchants last week. I have a meeting on Wednesday night with the Town Arts Committee, because they've been wanting to identify some public art spaces. So that's at 5:30 at the Hatch Space. So they're kind of reconstituting.
When is that?
It's 5:30 on Wednesday.
What is the hatch space?
That is the maker space, where Cultural Intrigue used to be. Where
Oh,
Mocha Joe's offices are and storage.
is Hatch a person's name, or is that in Hatch like chicken?
Like an incubator.
Incubator. It's a woodworking space.
Okay, cool.
It doesn't have anything to do with the hatch, with like Tom Bodette and
It is,
Tom
it's
Bodette,
the
yeah.
hatch.
It's that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, it's the hatch, not the hatch space.
So who is on the Arts Committee?
Well, no, I don't know.
It's hatch space.
Is the Arts Committee a thing still? Yeah.
It is.
back
It's
to being a thing.
It's back to being.
Plus, they have some money, right?
No.
Oh.
No, that didn't. Where did that go?
Right, I thought they were,
Did
yeah.
that go to the downtown group?
No. It's, I think the Arts Council of Wyndham County is kind of shepherding that.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so Jack Haley, Robin Flatley, Ben Schriefter, Amy Ballin, Joseph Rivera, and Kay Kubas. I am okay.
I don't know any of them. Yeah, I've never heard of any of them.
No problem.
So they're the Arts Committee that's listed in the town plan as having, they're the one that when we did the town plan,
Yes.
they were defunct and now they're undefunct.
Yes, but
Great.
they are newly
They're all new.
kind of reconstituted
Okay,
and stuff,
cool.
so I'll meet with them. So another group that I thought of meeting with, I have a meeting this week, actually, so I don't know if I can't get on the agenda, it's too late, but is the ADA committee. So I'll have to see when they meet again. My guess is it's not until October, but they've been a very active committee, kind of assessing conditions around the town. Sidewalk parking. They were instrumental in getting the parking, the handicap spot on the eastern side of Main Street near the Hooker Dome. They also helped improve the back of the parking lot here that was, the pavement was in poor condition and kind of a gap to get into the building. Yeah, so anyway, I mean, a couple of other ideas is kind of reaching out to the groundworks community, see if they can help with some outreach. But I don't know if you guys had any thoughts of groups we should be trying to meet with.
I just like the front porch forum idea.
What happened with the Brattleboro Listening Project and all the people who participated in that and the sort of groundswell around absence of affordable artist spaces?
I don't know where that is at. I know that Sharon is the chair of the Arts Council of Wyndham County now.
Oh,
I think
okay.
she's the chair. And I'll probably be meeting with her in the near future. And then Chrissy, who is also involved, I think is on maternity leave right now. So I'm not really sure where they are with the listening project results. And
So,
but I think the Arts Council of Wyndham County is also another organization that's just getting its feet back on the ground and stuff, so.
but is that data getting to the place since people, if Chrissy's not there to carry it forward, is somebody else taking that data and
I will
sending
check
it
into
to
that. I mean, I'm sure that Chrissy has shared it, but
Seems like there was a lot of info there.
yeah.
Another good question. There's a bunch of folks working on, you know, all the homelessness and panhandling and addiction, and there's a ton of people working on that. Or is there any other agencies, you know, beyond Groundworks that we can reach out to?
Youth services,
Yep.
probably.
Yeah. Is that on the list then, or is, like, are we coming up with a list right now, or are we brainstorming ideas on who to reach out to? Is that-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Turning Point, I think it's often. And there's another group that meets downtown. It's kind of got a techie name, like a pretty clinical name. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head.
I'm bad at remembering all the names of all the agencies and nonprofits also.
Oh, and I wanted to reach out to the high school students.
The Insight students, often classes take them all over downtown. And also the Center for Children in the White Church.
Mhm.
They take the kids
Yeah, they walk
out on downtown strolls a lot.
On
I
the leash.
think they'd be the teachers, they love the group to reach out to.
Yeah.
And the kids. Boy, they'd have opinions.
Should we consider reaching out to communities around us? Marlboro College, or just towns in general? Putney, Vernon? Just post it on their front porch forums, or however the majority of people
Yeah.
find out about stuff.
Like, Putney school students bus down 2 days a week
Yeah.
to
and-
come hang out in town.
Yeah, and the more
Just
incentivized
like-
they are to come,
I'm not sure.
nice to have youth downtown.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there might be some partnering there with the library, like the children's room and the teen room in the library.
It, it would be cool if the surveys or something could get passed out on the buses.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to do them online. What about the more economic, business We've only got the Downtown Brattleboro Alliance. Are there other business groups that are?
The chamber.
The chamber.
Yeah.
And both of them are pretty good. In the past, they've put out our surveys.
But I
But
mean,
just
in
as
terms of,
general
as
outreach.
general outreach of participating, I mean, maybe their perspective, they might have a different kind of perspective on what they
Like-
think we
Mhm.
need.
The Heifer Association
Yeah,
people.
yeah, I don't know.
Is the Welcome Center next to the hardware store like frequently?
That's the chamber.
Oh, that's a chamber.
Yeah.
And
It
how
gets a
about
lot,
the-
it gets walk-in traffic.
Okay.
How about
Yeah,
the
because whoever
BDCC?
staffs that or manages, it's a chamber.
Does the BDCC ever weigh in on the aesthetic of downtown?
Yeah.
I'm
Do we
having
want
trouble
them to?
reading that.
Well, I wouldn't say the aesthetic.
But I guess
It's
just in
conditions of
terms of
downtown.
sort of, yeah, I mean, it's the quality of the welcome and other sorts of things. I don't know.
Wouldn't say that they're real local and that kind of stuff.
Since that is, I mean, isn't that was on the RFP, is the sort of notion of making, improving business, the quality of business in downtown. Might have some opinions.
Maybe there's some, I just thought of this now, some comparable towns in Vermont or nearby states that have things, admirable things that we like. We could reach out to them and they could say, hey, this is why we think your town's falling short, because we have this and you don't. Or this is why I moved here to this town, or why I stayed here.
Exit surveys, I've thought about
Oh,
that.
Brattleboro.
Yeah, Brattleboro exit
Yes.
surveys. We
Yeah.
see you
Why are
moving
you
out.
leaving?
Why are you leaving?
That's what makes me think of the
That's
Welcome
actually a really
Center.
smart idea.
I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I was just thinking about that the other day.
Exit
It would be
surveys
really
on why people are
useful to
leaving.
say, why are you
Oh my
leaving?
God.
Mhm. Well, how do we catch them? There's a lot of roads there.
Are we not
Yeah.
paying you enough to be here?
What can we get you to do to get you to reconsider? That would be about,
That's actually
since
a
we're
really good idea.
we're trying to get more people
Yeah.
to move
Move
here.
here, why don't we
We're
figure out
not
why-
asking why
yeah.
people are leaving.
We all-
We just think we know. But
Except you don't know when people are
Like,
leaving.
I'm like, how do you know who?
Oh, usually they do it in like the quiet of the night. You know, like-
People sell their
Yeah,
homes
yeah.
and move away. I mean,
Yeah. No,
it's
I
happening
know,
all the
I
time.
know a lot of people that are leaving this area, you know, and I know like usually why they're doing it, but it's all like personal, you know, it'd be great to make it like public. You know, and also the people I don't know that are leaving, I would love to hear like why people are doing it. Why-
Yeah, I mean,
why
we
are
could
people
put it
taking
in,
off?
we could put it in the newspaper, you know, are you leaving Brattleboro? We'd like to know why.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, private organizations do that. We do it every time a student leaves Marlboro. We have them do an exit.
Has there ever been a town, I wonder, that's ever done exit interviews? You know? Like, is this
not
like
so
a first?
crazy.
yeah,
Like
is
the
this like
town
a first time
welcome
this has ever
committee,
been-
what about a?
I think we might
Right.
get, I think we might make the national news.
A farewell.
That's a good thing.
Discussion.
Yeah, that's
I'm surely trying to think this through. Like Marlboro, it's so specific, right? It's a school and they're leaving this particular, like there could be so many reasons why people would leave Brattleboro, many or almost all of them having absolutely nothing to do with Brattleboro, you know what I mean?
Right,
Because
but
people
then-
move
but-
so much
but-
anyway.
But, yeah, people move so much anyway, but I mean, it might not. It might be that, you know, there were one or two things that people who live here like, you know, some people think there's lots to do here. Other people think there's nothing to do here.
Yeah, it's such a weird perspective.
Yeah.
As someone who lives in Putney, they were like, we avoid going to Brattleboro. Like, they basically like the wolves have to drag them to Brattleboro. They hate it. They would never go downtown, and they think it's the most. And I'm like, wow, really? That's so weird. You know, like I live here and we come downtown all the time, just eat or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
And it could just be a rural urban preference.
Well, you do good restaurants downtown.
Don't know how to eat.
Yeah, listen.
All right. Are we ready to move on to
Land
G?
use regulations.
I don't have anything for G. So.
Oh, beautiful. Sorry.
All right. Do I
You
have
both
a,
slammed your
do I have an emotion to adjourn?
I'll move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
What is this pen made of?